Okay, welcome back to the maps chapter of this full Excel course. Today's video is an important one. It underpins almost all of the map cases that you'll see, and that is how to calculate the distance between cells. So there's a few different types of distance calculations. We're going to go through most of the common ones today. You can download this file from a link in the description and work along with me if you like. So let's talk about the fundamentals. So I'm going to use this map for this sheet. And this is a map from the deep sea diving case. It's a free case on the Excel eSports platform. This is the one we used in the last video to flatten it. We'll be using that structure again for some of these questions. So go watch the last video if you haven't already. Essentially we have a boat here sailing on the water, and a diver wants to move from the boat to a number of treasure items to collect them. So whenever we're faced with distance questions, there's a few things we need to ask. Firstly, what directions can we travel in? So that may be up, down, left, right, and the four diagonals, or it may just be up, down, left, right, or it may be something else. The second thing we need to consider is how much each of those directions is worth. So most of the time, all the directions that you're allowed to travel in will be worth 1. So if we were to step along these cells, it would be a distance of 1 each time, but that's not always the case. I guess the final thing you need to think about is whether you need to step on each of these cells, because occasionally you'll be asked what's the straight line distance from one cell to the other, in which case you don't always need to step along cells in a sequential order. You just figure out the distance straight line, normally with the Pythagorean formula, so we'll go through that here as well. So let's just talk through the two most common distances you'll be asked for, and that's where you can travel up, down, left, right, or the four diagonals. So start with up, down, left, right. Let's pretend that green is our start cell and yellow is our end cell. Now I've written out the row numbers and column numbers here, and essentially what we want to do is get to the yellow cell. So there's many routes we could take. Let's use purple as our route. So if we can only move up, down, left and right, and we were to take this route, you'll see that we travel 33 cells across and then however many down this is. So that's 16 cells down. However, if we were to take a different route, for example, we could take this route. And if you were to compare these two routes, they're actually the same length, because I always need to go down as many steps as it is from this green row to the yellow row. And I always need to go across from the green column to the yellow column. So in this second, more complex route, if you just look at the across steps, you'll see that these make up the same line as the top row in the purple route. So if I was just to pull them all down, you can see it's going to make up the same distance. So whenever we can only move up, down, left, right, the calculation for the number of steps is simply the difference between the columns plus the difference between the rows. So we know how to get row and column. So let's say row of indirect of this, and let's say column of indirect of this. So this is our rows, this is our columns. Let's just center it up. And then we need to calculate the distance from there and our start cell. So our start cell is AI2 in this case. So if we write AI2 as our start, we can do the same thing again. So row of indirect of this, and then we can say column of indirect of this. So whenever we calculate the difference here, we also need to remember that we could be going up to down or down to up, and we want to avoid negatives, so we'll wrap things in the absolute formula. So let's say equals absolute value of the row minus this row, and let's do equals absolute value of this column minus this. Let's make sure we lock our start cell there, which I didn't do in this one, because we don't want that to move. So the distance is now the sum of the row difference and the column difference. Let's just label those up. Row difference, column difference. And this is the start cell over here. Now let's talk about diagonal distance. So here we could travel in any direction, up, down, left, right, or the four diagonals. So as you can imagine, we'd want to come diagonally as far as we can and then across to the yellow. That's going to be the most efficient route. And what you'll notice is if I was to pull all of these purple cells into the same row again, they would actually fall down there. So the distance is actually just the column difference here. So it's the difference in columns is our total distance. But what if our yellow cell was down here, for example? Well, we would do the same thing and come across diagonally, and then we'd come straight down. And in this case, the distance would just be like so, the difference in the rows. So that means that the diagonal distance is just the maximum of the row difference or the column difference. So I can use these exact workings again, and then the diagonal distance is actually going to be the maximum of these. It's the biggest of the row difference or the column difference. So those are the most straightforward calculations you'll get. Now let's talk about the straight line Pythagorean distance. So now let's pretend we can just take a straight line from the green cell to the yellow cell, and it doesn't matter about stepping on cells in between. They're kind of irrelevant. So in this case, we need to go back to school a little bit and remember the Pythagorean formula. and we want the row difference squared plus the column difference squared, and then square root that whole thing. So we already have the calculations up here. A long way we can do it is to say that to the power of 2 plus that to the power of 2, and then we could do the whole square root of it. So square root is, there's a formula there in Excel. So square root of all that stuff, and that will give us the Pythagorean distance. Alternatively to writing out this whole squared thing, you can do sum squared. So sum squared is a formula, sum squared of these things. That's just going to do exactly the same thing, but it's a little bit quicker. So that's the Pythagorean formula. Whenever you're asked to use that, there's normally rounding involved, so let's round it to 2 decimal places. We can say round to 2 decimal places. And that's our answers for that. Now the final type of distance that I'll cover in this video is come up a few times, but it's where the map is not scaled. So we're still going to do steps, so we're going to get rid of this line now. But the map has a certain scale to it. So in this question I'm going to say that one step up or down is going to cost 3. So it might be 3 meters, 3 kilometers, doesn't really matter. Left and right is going to be 4, and diagonally is going to be 6. I could use 5 for diagonals, but that's similar to the Pythagorean formula, because 3, 4, 5 is a Pythagorean triple. So I'm going to use 6 just to make it a little bit different. But don't confuse this with the Pythagorean one at all. This is different. This is where we have to step on each cell of the map. So if we just think about the scale a minute, going down is going to be 3, going across is going to be 4. So down and across is going to cost us a total of 7, whereas going diagonally is going to cost us a total of 6. So we want to go diagonally for as far as we can until we're in line with this yellow cell, and then just go straight across to it or up to it. So that's going to look exactly like our diagonal distance picture, but we need to take into account this effective scaling of the map. So these 2 corners of the diagonals, just put a thick border around it, that's going to form a square. And the dimensions of the square are always going to be the minimum of the row difference and the column difference. So if we had 2 cells like this, for example, as our destinations, the square is going to be this bit here. So let's just turn that back to green. So here the row difference is 8 and the column difference is 3. So our square is going to be 3. So we'd want to do 3 multiplied by the diagonals, which is 6. So that would be 18 plus what's left over row-wise or column-wise. So now we've visualized it, let's look at how to calculate it. So let's do our setup again with all of this stuff. So what's the minimum square going to be? It's going to be the minimum of these 2. So that's our square. And then how much is left to travel either horizontally or vertically? Well, it's going to be however much we traveled in a square minus each of those things. So let's just minus them both in an array. And if we drag that down, let's call it min square, and then remaining rows, remaining columns. So to do this type of distance, we know we want to do the square multiplied by 6, because it costs 6 to move diagonally, plus the row difference, which is up or down, so that's going to be a cost of 3 times 3, plus the column distance times by 4. However, we need to be careful, we've got some negatives in here, so we need to make sure this is the absolute. So we'll wrap it in absolute again, so that we don't get any negatives. And then that is going to be our total distance in this situation. So I guess this is kind of the trickiest type of calculation, but when you know the method it's not so bad. You'll notice when we just minus the minimum square from the row and column difference, one of them is always going to be 0, because the square was the minimum of them. You know, one of them minus itself is always going to be 0. So now that we know how to calculate pretty much any type of distance, let's transfer that logic into a proximity calculation. So I want to know how many items are within the given distance diagonally, so we're going for a simple one, just the maximum of the row and the column difference. So how many items are within 4 steps, 5 steps, 6 steps, and so on of these cells. So for this one, we're going to use our flatten map trick. Now I'm going to do it very quickly because I don't want to go through the whole process again. We already have a video on that. Now I'm just going to spill it here. The last video was all about this, so go watch that if you don't know how to do this. So I've set up a flattened version of our map here, and I'm going to combine this with a data table approach. So I've seen that before. So let's just label these 1, 2, 5 quickly. And then on our map, we can say 1, I want to do X lookup 1 in here, and return the question kind of asks. So let's go through this. We know we're starting at N16, so let's do row of indirect of this, and let's do column of indirect of this. So this is our row, and this is our column from our start cell. So we're in N16, which will be down here. We want to know what is within 4 steps. We can already see we're going to be able to capture some of these treasures, but we want to know which ones. So the easiest way is to calculate the distance for everything now that we know about this flattened kind of map structure. So let's say distance here and let's say equals absolute value of these two numbers, so the row and column, minus these two. So this is going to give us the differences between the row and the column. And we want the max, which is going to be the diagonal distance. So let's just lock our destination, or our start cell, sorry, there. And we have the distance to everything. We can then say filter all of our contents where the distance is less than or equal to the number of steps away. So in our question, this was our start cell. Let's just label it to be neat. Let's say steps allowed. And you could ask this question using any of the distance calculations we just went through. So you could use all these distance calculations, these 4 different ones, apply it to this question and find what is within the given distance. So then we can say equals count A of this stuff, or we could use the rows formula, doesn't matter. There's 10 objects, items within our given proximity there. Let's then grab these so we can do a data table on the whole lot. Alt DT, and we're changing this cell, and there we go. So let's just verify a couple of these answers. So if we look at question 3 here, we were in BH18, and it looks like we can get 13 items. So BH18, it's all the way over here. BH18 is here. So this seems to be our start cell, and we were allowed 6 steps. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, that's the top of our square. And I imagine something like that is the bottom of our square, but we will check. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that's everywhere we can go. So if we hover our mouse over there, we see there's 13 items, and that agrees to what we got in the question answer up here. So let's copy all of our answers into here, and there we go. So that's all the basics of distance calculations. I just want to give one more visual before we go. So if I just clear all of this out for a second, to visualize up, down, left, right distance, we want to do that. And then our next ones are going to be 2s from here. 2s, and then our next ones would be 3s. Let's put some conditional formatting on there. What you'll see is you get kind of a diamond pattern of distances. That's when you can move only up, down, left, right, versus what you can do in 4 steps diagonally. So the diagonally is kind of like a square, and up, down, left, right is a bit more of a diamond type shape. So in the next video, we're going to add one more layer of complication to this. That's going to be a video that we'll call mazes. But essentially, we're going to complicate this logic and say that there are certain things on the map that you are not allowed to pass through. And that's going to make things more complicated. If we can't go through something, we need to go around it, which is going to increase our distance. And there might be many things on the map that we're not allowed to run into and have to navigate around, which is going to add to our distance. So we'll talk about that next time. Subscribe if you enjoyed this video, turn notifications on. I'm going to be uploading quite regularly now. The first Road to Las Vegas round is going to be on 22nd of January. So I want to get this course out well in advance of that. So any new competitors have kind of a full series to get up to speed to compete. It's a lot of fun. I'd highly recommend it. And hopefully I'll see you next time.